Ever wonder who's really behind those tasty fish sticks in your freezer?
Or that perfectly smoked salmon on your bagel.
Well, today we're diving deep into the world of fish production operators with the help of RoleCatcher's career guide.
It's a career path that's often overlooked, but surprisingly fascinating.
You might be thinking, fish production operator. Doesn't exactly scream dream job, does it?
Well, get ready for a surprise,
Yeah,
because there's way more to it than meets the eye.
that's what we're here to find out. So let's unpack this. What exactly does a fish production operator do?
In a nutshell, they're the masterminds behind ensuring those fish products we love are top-notch quality and safe to eat.
Okay, so they're the ones making sure my fish and chips aren't a recipe for disaster.
Precisely. They're responsible for maintaining those incredibly high standards throughout the entire production process.
But the guide mentions everything from molding and breading to managing inventory and staying on top of food safety regulations.
That's right, it's a multifaceted role.
Seems like a lot of responsibility.
It absolutely is. Think of fish production operators as the guardians of good taste. They're the last line of defense.
So it's not just about working on a production line, there's a whole lot more to it.
Exactly. And it's a field that's evolving rapidly too, with new technologies like automation becoming more commonplace.
Automation. Now that's interesting. What kind of automation are we talking about here?
Well, for example, think about the molding process for fish cakes. Traditionally, that involved a lot of manual labor. But now, automated systems can mold those patties with incredible precision and speed, ensuring consistency and efficiency.
Wow, I had no idea. So it's not just about working on the line, there's a whole technological aspect to it as well.
Exactly. And that's just one example. The fish production industry is constantly adopting new technologies to improve efficiency, sustainability, and of course, the quality of the final product.
This is already blowing my mind. And I bet you thought this was just about fish sticks, didn't you?
You'd be surprised how many people underestimate the complexity of the food production industry. It's about science, technology, engineering. Even a little bit of art, you could say.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. So we've got this blend of traditional skills and cutting-edge technology, but what about the people actually doing the work? What's a typical day really look like for a fish production operator?
Well, let's just say it's not your typical office job.
Not your typical office job, huh? Okay, you've got my attention. Paint me a picture. What's it really like?
Imagine this. You're bundled up in protective gear.
Oh, like a full-body hazmat suit.
Not quite. But think hairnets, waterproof aprons, maybe even steel-toed boots. The air is chilly, machinery humming all around you, and, well,
Let me guess, it doesn't exactly smell like roses.
let's just say there might be some, shall we say, distinctive aromas in the air. It's all part of the sensory experience.
All right, I'm starting to get a feel for it. Definitely not for the faint of heart. But what about the actual work itself? What kind of tasks are we talking about?
Well, it varies depending on your role and the specific product, naturally. But generally, you'd be responsible for things like monitoring the equipment, making sure the product is flowing smoothly through the line, checking for any quality issues. You don't want any stray bones ending up in those fish sticks, and maintaining those all-important hygiene standards.
Sounds like a fast-paced environment.
It definitely can be. You're on your feet, often for long hours, making sure those fish products are moving along smoothly and efficiently.
This job sounds pretty demanding, but let's say someone's hooked on this career path. What's the trajectory look like?
That's where RoleCatcher's Guide is really helpful. They break down the typical career progression. You start with entry-level roles, move up to junior roles, and then eventually you might reach those coveted senior fish production operator positions.
So you're basically climbing the seafood ladder, rung by rung.
Exactly. You start on the production line, maybe learning the ropes of filleting or the delicate art of smoking fish, and then gradually work your way up to positions with more responsibility and, of course, usually a little more pay.
Okay, I'm following you so far. So for someone just starting out, what would an entry-level role actually involve?
Think of it as fish production operator boot camp. You'll be focused on those core production tasks, things like breading, setting temperatures on the equipment, and keeping that production line moving at the right speed so you don't have any bottlenecks.
It sounds like attention to detail is key here. You can't be daydreaming on the job.
Absolutely. You're the first line of defense when it comes to quality control. And then, as you gain experience, master those technical skills, and prove yourself to be a reliable member of the team, you might move into a junior role.
Okay, so what does a junior fish production operator do? More responsibility, I imagine.
Exactly. Junior roles often involve more complex processes and a deeper understanding of the products. You might oversee the brining of fish for preservation, making sure the salt concentration and time are just right for optimal flavor and texture.
Ah, so it's not just about slapping some breading on and calling it a day. There's a real art to it.
Absolutely. Or you might manage the smoking process for those mouth-watering smoked salmon fillets, carefully monitoring temperature and smoke levels to achieve that perfect smoky flavor.
Okay, now you're making me hungry. But let's talk about those at the top of their game, those seasoned pros. What do senior fish production operators actually do? Are they just overseeing a bunch of junior bucks?
They're the ones who really get to flex those leadership and problem-solving muscles. They're thinking about the big picture, optimizing the entire system.
Optimizing the system. That sounds pretty high level. What does that entail in the fish production world?
Well, we're talking about managing inventory, making sure you've got enough raw materials to keep those production lines humming, forecasting demand because nobody wants a fish stick shortage, right?
A fish stick shortage. Don't even joke about that.
And of course, ensuring compliance with all those ever-changing food safety regulations. Because the last thing anyone wants is a foodborne illness outbreak.
Safety first. Absolutely.
And here's the really cool part. They might even be involved in developing new processing techniques to improve efficiency or product quality.
Hold on. Did you say developing new techniques? Now, that's what I call a career glow. What kind of innovations are we talking about? Give me an example.
Sure. Let's say a senior fish production operator notices that their current filleting method is generating a lot of waste.
Which is bad for the environment and the company's bottom line.
Exactly. So they put on their thinking caps, do some brainstorming with their team, experiment with some new techniques, and voila. They develop a new filleting method that reduces waste by 15%, saving the company money and benefiting the environment.
Now, that's what I call a win-win. So it's not just a job, it's a career path with real potential for growth, innovation, and even a little bit of mad scientist experimentation thrown in.
Precisely. If you're passionate about food production and have a knack for problem solving, this could be the perfect career path for you.
Okay, I'm sold. But let's say someone is ready to, shall we say, cast their net into the job market. What's the outlook like for aspiring fish production operators these days? Is it a competitive field?
Well, that's where RoleCatcher's insights are really valuable. They highlight that it's a stable job market with good long-term prospects, which is always music to a job seeker's ears.
Music to a job seeker's ears, indeed. But what about the actual application process? Any tips for standing out from the crowd of other eager applicants?
Preparation is key. And luckily, RoleCatcher offers excellent interview prep resources.
Interview prep resources, you say? Like what?
Well, they've got this really cool list of potential interview questions.
Spill the tea. What kind of questions can someone expect in a fish production operator interview?
Well, you'll have your standard ones, of course. Tell me about yourself. Why are you interested in this role? That kind of thing.
Right, the classics.
But they also have some more thought-provoking questions that really dig deeper into a candidate's understanding of the industry and their problem-solving skills.
Ooh, insider information. I love it. Can you give us an example of one of those unexpected questions?
Absolutely. One that stands out is, how do you handle fish waste and byproducts?
That's a good one. It's not something you'd necessarily think about in your day-to-day life, but it's incredibly important in the grand scheme of things.
Exactly. It might seem like a small detail, but it reveals a lot about a candidate's awareness of environmental responsibility, their problem-solving skills, and their understanding of the bigger picture. It shows they're not just there to punch a clock. They're invested in the sustainability of the industry.
It's about seeing the whole ocean, not just the fish sticks.
Precisely.
Speaking of getting it, RoleCatcher mentions certifications a lot. Do those really matter in this field?
They can definitely give you a leg up on the competition. They highlight the value of certifications like HACCP, which stands for Hazard Analysis and Critical Control Points.
Okay, for those of us who aren't familiar with the ins and outs of food safety acronyms, what exactly ISHACCP?
It's basically a system for preventing food safety hazards throughout the entire production process, from the moment those fish arrive at the facility to the moment they're packaged and ready to ship out.
So it's like a super strict set of guidelines and procedures to ensure the products are safe to eat.
Exactly. Think of it like a detective for your food. It's all about identifying potential problems before they even happen.
So having that HACCP certification shows potential employers that you understand those procedures and that you're serious about food safety, which is obviously crucial in this industry.
Absolutely. It's a stamp of approval, proving you've got the knowledge and skills to keep those fish products safe and delicious.
So it's not a set it and forget it kind of career. You've got to stay curious and keep learning.
Absolutely. The fish production industry is constantly evolving. New technologies are emerging, regulations are always changing, and consumer demands are shifting, like the growing demand for plant-based seafood alternatives.
Plant-based seafood? Now that's a whole other deep dive. But we'll save that for another episode.
Definitely.
This has been incredibly eye-opening. I had no idea there was so much to discover about the world of fish production operators.
It's a hidden gem of an industry. And as our planet faces challenges like climate change, a growing global population, and the need for sustainable food sources, how we produce and consume food, especially seafood, is more important than ever.
It's true. We often hear about overfishing and the environmental impact of seafood, but we rarely think about the people working hard to make those fish fingers or that gourmet smoked salmon happen. Fish production operators might be behind the scenes, but they play a vital role in that whole system.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
They're on the front lines, ensuring we have access to safe, sustainable, and delicious seafood. What's not to appreciate about that?
It's definitely given me a newfound appreciation for all those hardworking folks in the fish production industry, and for anyone listening who's feeling inspired to explore this career path further, RoleCatcher is the perfect place to start. They've got those CV building tools, AI feedback to help you polish your applications, and that incredible database of careers and employers in the food production sector. What are you waiting for? Go check it out.
Your dream job in fish production might be just a click away.
And on that note, it's time for us to surface from this deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed this fascinating journey into the world of fish production operators. Until next time, happy diving.